Now let's see how to add a second player. So as I was saying previously, we just want, by holding down the control key and drag dropping the instance of the bomber, to make a new bomber, and we will have to make some modifications to it. So first modification is to add an instance variable that will name player, and for our second instance we will set it to 1, and the first player will be player 0. And this also means that we will have to make a few modifications to our player 1 controls group, under the form of having to check what is the player we are currently picking. So player 0, here it is. So space will act for the player 0, and add a sub-event, check that the player is 0, here it is, and we will actually make those events sub-events of that. So we are picking only the instance 0, and so it means that if I'm just testing right now, we do have 2 instances, but only one I am moving. So that's what we want. And to be able to control the second player, we will simply hold down the control key and make a new group. We will copy actually the group and have a few modifications to it. So first the player there will be 1, and we will check that it's the arrow keys. So no, not up, it's there, it's right, and there it's down, there it's left, and there it's up. There it will be delete, okay, and player will have to be 1. And with only those little modifications, I'm able, with the arrow keys, to move the character at the bottom, and with the current set of keys we already had made, and so that's where our bomber group, our bomber's movement group, and the fact that we have set it the inputs on an external basis, if you want. If from the start I had taken all this logic and had put it into those events, I wouldn't have been able to duplicate the number of players as easily. There are some other modifications we need to do though, because at the moment, as you can see, both characters have the same colors and stuff like that, and we will simply change it by applying a WebGL effect, and this effect is replace color. Here it is, replace color, and so you can see they are both sharing the effects, but actually by modifying the tolerance to 25 on our second instance, we are changing some of its color, whereas the first player is still of the same, and we make no other modification and still have, as you can see, it's applied to all the animations directly, which is pretty interesting and pretty straightforward. the fact that it's WebGL unfortunately also means that, for example, in Internet Explorer, this effect won't apply, and both our players will appear as white characters with the same texture. So, but it will work in Firefox and Chrome, and apparently it's been leaked recently that Internet Explorer should eventually get WebGL support, so it's likely that in the future all browsers will be able to handle those kind of effects. And as you can see, it's pretty easy for us. A simple modification of value, and we have two characters that are quite different. So it's pretty interesting. Right click on the layout folders and add a layout. We will also add a new event sheet, and this layout we will name menu, and will be actually our first layout. So drag drop it and put it on top of the level, and it's a 576 by 576. We will be adding a sprite. Let's open it, and it's in the menu folder, and it is the title background.jpg. So you can notice that this layout hasn't the snap to grid compared to our previous layout level, which still has. So let's position it to half of our layout, 288 by 288, name it menu back, and actually make a new layer, and we will be locking the layer 0, so this way we can't select again our background, and we will be able to add objects over it and be able to set our menu the way we want. Now let's go in and add the title. The title is Bombing Chap, and actually we will crop it. Here it is. Put it about there, and if I'm correct, yes, we need 3 signs behavior. So let's add them. Signing 1, 2, and 3. No. Yes, and 3. Here it is. Our first one. So all will be active on start. The first one will be horizontal and will be 4, and the magnitude will only be 15. Then we will set the sign 2 to vertical, and we will want to have a period of 12 seconds for a magnitude of 20 pixels. And finally the last one would be an angle, and with a period of 25 for a magnitude of 10. And if we just execute it, you can see that the object is moving right and left, up and down, and it's having its angle, which is shifting slowly. This is thanks to the different values I've been modifying just right now. So it's quickly done. It's making a nice effect, I believe, and it's pretty free on the programming side for us. As you have seen, a few behaviors, and we have a nice floating title on the menu layout. Just be sure to make it start at about half of the layout, and that's about it. So then we need to add another sprite which will be the one player. Oh, and actually it's frames, so let's import frames. It's one player, and I will want the yellow first, and I will want to set the speed to 0. Like for the power-ups, this there will be our object player button. So yeah, player button. And when we will be hovering the mouse over this object, it will change its frame to give the mouse over effect we've seen previously. So let's position it to 146 by 340. Here it is. And actually, player 1, and add a new animation, player 2. And in player 2 we will simply be importing the frames of player 2. Here it is. Put the yellow first and set the speed to 0, which allows us to simply control drag drop, make a new instance of it, and position it to 415 by 340, and actually change the initial animation to player 2. Here it is. And then we add another sprite, add frames, which will be our controls. Set the speed to 0. Here it goes. The position is to be 148 by 376. Control drag drop. The position is to be 422 376, and there we will change the initial frame to 1. Those are simply informations, so it's not big deal if it's not we don't need to do anything more to it, so just name it controls informations, just to remember. And we will add a new input object right there, since it's using the mouse, and we will go into the event sheet too. So now is a good time to rename our event sheets. So I tend to, it's personal convention, I put a ES for event sheet on top at first as a prefix, and then the name of the layout it's related to. So this is ES level, where we have all the logic that is dependent and that is related to our level. And for the menu we will do the same, ES menu. Here it is. We'll add a new event and we will use the mouse and check that when the cursor is over an object, and the object will be the player button. Here it is. When it's over a player button, we will want the player button to display the frame number 1, and in the same order of ID, when the cursor isn't over the player button, we want it to display the frame 0. So this way, normally, here I have my effect, it's working, nice. In our menu we will also add an object text that we will position about there. So the position will actually be 0 413, and the size will be set to 573 by 162, and then we will make bit of modifications right there. And so not there. Change the color to something like yellow. Here it is, 250/50. Yeah, it's good. The horizontal alignment will be set to center, and that's about it for now. Yeah. And actually in the menu we will add an event start of layout, like in the level. I like to set it on top of my event sheet, and we will change, forgot to change the name to the txt description. And on start of layout we will set our txt description object web font, and we will set it to end tone, and it's in fonts.googleapis.com/css interrogation mark family equal end tone. Here it is. And so this is actually a Google font. We've been the designer, the person who has made all the graphical assets for the game, have picked, and that you can use directly to apply to our text object. And there we will set the font face then to end tone. Here it is. And I still need there to modify the size and the aspect right there. It's actually italic bold in 16. And if I'm launching, here it is. The text object loads directly from Google Fonts the font and apply it to the text object. For now we will be adding also a mouse event, so that when we click on the player button we will go, so system, go to layout, level. Here it is. But at the moment I need also to check how many players are going to play the game. So I will need to make a few modifications in our ES level and add a global variable which will be named players, and by default actually we will keep it to 2. And on start of layout I will add another sub-event to check actually the value of the players. If it's equal to 2, we will system set, where is it, set group active player 2 controls. And so I need yet another modification, which is edit and set it to not active on start. So at the moment you can see it's not activated, and when the number players will be equal to 2, this group will be active, and so the second player will be able to control his bomber. And when the number of players is not equal to 2, and I also need to pick the player 1 bomber, I will deactivate that group and destroy the bomber, so it doesn't appear and isn't able to be controlled. That's it for now. And so go back into the menu, and there we'll be adding an instance variable which will name ID, and for the first player it will be 1, and for the second player it will be 2. And this will allow us, in that event that we've made earlier, to set the players to the current player button ID value. So when I'm clicking this button, I will set this variable there, so it's in a different event sheet, but it's still accessible. And so I will set it to 1, which means that when the level will start, we'll only have one player. This player will be destroyed, and this event there, this group of events, will stay deactivated. And when I'm clicking this button there, I will be taken and have the 2 players playing. So let's try it. I'm clicking one player. I have only one player, and it's what I want. Let's press F5 again. 2 players. I have 2 players, and I can control both. So that's what we want. It's working nice. So at the moment we can go from the menu to the level, but we don't have exactly winning or losing conditions in our level. It means that once we get to the level layout, it will just keep on and keep on and keep on, even if both bombers are destroyed, or even if I destroy everything in the level. So we will need to add a new object, yet a sprite, and it's in the blocks. It's a portal. Actually, we'll set the collision polygon. It's okay there. It's in cycle, so it's good. We will rename it end level, and we will make add a few behavior to it. Actually, only one, which will be the rotate behavior. Here it is. Set it to -130. Once again, it's a value I've determined by trial and error and what felt better for what I was wanting to. And set its initial visibility to invisible. It won't be visible at start, obviously. And to make it visible, actually what I will want to do is that any bomber will have to destroy all the destroyable blocks, and once all the blocks have been destroyed, then the end level will appear. So let's do it in the code by checking right there, adding an event, a system compare to values, and we will check for the E block count, which is the number of instances of this object type in the current level. And when it will be equal to 0, that means that all the blocks, the E blocks, have been destroyed. Then I'll set the end of level to visible. Here it is. And then I will want to check that the bomber, whatever the bomber is overlapping the end of level, but also that the end of level is not visible at that excuse me, at that moment, because at some point it could be possible. It could be possible, for example, that a bomber goes there, has destroyed the blocks, and just is walking. It doesn't see the end of level since it's invisible, but yet as soon as it will be on collision with it, it will be considered as end of the level, even if there are still E blocks in the level. So with this condition there, we are making sure that the end of level is legit, if you will. And we will go to the menu. Go to layout, menu. And also, what we will want to do there is to display to the player that he has won, or what player has won. So we will add a global variable named winner, make it by default -1, and so there on the start of layout, because every time we will go to the menu layout, this event will execute, as well as every time we will get to the level layout, the start of layout and the sub-events will execute. So add a sub-event and check if winner is equal to -1, which is the default value, so it's the first time you are executing the game. I want the text description text to say choose the number of players, either 1 or 2. And if winner is either equal to 0 or equal to 1, and there I will need a little trick. I will add an array to our menu, and there we will set the array set at x1 the value of 1, and set at value 2 and the value 2. So you can see as it has quotes there, it's a string. The value is a string and the x is an index, and you can notice that it's either 1 or 2, and so this will allow us to set the text to player and array.at winner +1 and wins. So right there I'm concatenating a string player, as you can see in a kind of red bordeaux, and we are putting also a value that is taken from the array, so it will be either the string 1 or the string 2, and it will depend on the value of the winner variable. So when the variable will be 0 or 1, and you see that actually in our level by the end right there in the go to menu, we will also need to set the value of winner to actually the bomber player value. So remember, player is either 0 or 1, and when either 0 or 1 will be overlapping the end of level once all the blocks have been destroyed, we will set winner to be either 0 or 1 and go back to the menu. So actually we can set there, it's better. It's still working anyway, but it's always nicer to always remember that events and actions are read from top to bottom, and that's making a big difference in the logic of execution. So I'm either winner 1 or 2. Actually I could simply set it to 0 or 1. I don't need the +1 there. So it will display the string accordingly. And finally there is losing condition we can do, and which is that when the bomber count is equal to 0, so all the bombers have been destroyed, then we go to the menu, but we will set winner to 2. And in the menu, when we check and see if the winner is equal to 2, then actually it's text to game over. So let's try it out. Menu. I'm coming by default, so I'm just having choose the number of players. I will pick 1 player. I will die quickly just to make sure. Game over. Alright, now I'm having 2 players and I will try to finish the level. So we have to destroy all the blocks right there. Oh, it was a mistake. That's why I used 2 players. Make it easier to make sure I can finish. So no creeps anymore. That should make things easier. Pick 1 more bomb. Here it is. 2 blocks to destroy. 1. The end of level appears, and even though, as you remember, I've went through earlier, I wasn't taken back to the menu, and here I go, and player 2 wins. So it worked. It has gone and picked the correct value in the array and has displayed it by the end. A very last modification we might want to do is, because we were testing and having 2 bombs and 3 bombs range for testing, is to make sure that when we are starting the ES level, we are setting those values, so there, bombs to 1, so that each player has only 1 bomb, and that the bomb range is also equal to 1, just for the start and to make the power-ups more useful. We have our winning conditions, we have our losing conditions, we have a menu. So yeah, still to finish up, first layout, to be sure, just select menu right there to make it the first layout to display. And if ever you were to be selecting right there, working on your level and wanting to start over again from the beginning, instead of pressing F5 or this button right there, you can either run the project from there or press F4, which will execute from the menu and from the start with all the default values. So yeah, I think that's about it. That's how we do our bombing chap in Construct 2. I hope you enjoyed those videos and had fun while making this game. See you another time.